Hello everybody and welcome to Health Psychology. I am open up here to the Start Here menu, which is the first place you're going to check out as you're getting started in the class. I'm just going to review for you what is here and acquaint you with what you need to know, just some basics, and then we're going to skip on over to Week 1, Module 1, where you'll have your next podcast. So pretty much in each module, you're going to be having a podcast. But your syllabus is attached here. I recommend that you actually print it out. It's really helpful to have a printed out copy because then you can have it next to you. You can pin it up on your bulletin, have all of the important due dates right at your fingertips so that you don't miss anything. So I would highly suggest that. Make sure you read over all the policies, what the assignments entail, how you'll be graded in the class, and then any other questions that you have. This first week of classes would be a great time to ask those. So if you need clarification on anything on the syllabus, you'd want to let me know right away. If you have anything that's conflict or confusion, those are all good reasons to look it over very carefully. I always say with a fine-tooth comb, make sure that you're aware of everything and then ask any questions that you have. I have also included a bio of myself, just a little snippet of my background, who I am. Because this is an online class, you don't have the advantage of face-to-face interaction and getting to know your professor that way. So I always like to include a bio, and I'd also like each of you to do a bio. It doesn't have to be as long as the one that I did, but it definitely needs to be about you and just some basics. So you can take a look at mine and you can model yours after mine if you'd like. And then what you're going to be doing is you're going to be posting your bio right up over here. You're going to click on this Communications tab, and then you're going to click on Student Lounge, and you'll just post your bio as a kind of like a discussion thread in the Student Lounge. And then that way your classmates can all get to know you. If you'd like to include a picture, that would be great. I always think it's great to get to know one another that way. Because it's an online class, it allows us a little bit of help in getting to know one another. So we'll use it as sort of our icebreaker for the class. Here's all your textbook information. We are using the 9th edition of Health Psychology by Serafino and Smith. This is the one that the bookstore has, and I'm not sure how many options will be available to you. It depends on what the bookstore purchased, but you can certainly ask about these options. If you'd like to use the 8th edition, I'm fine with that, but I wouldn't go any further back than that. So if you choose to buy your book somewhere other than the bookstore on campus, that's fine. Just make sure you always get a receipt. Make sure you always know when you're going to receive the book. You have to have your books in the first week of class. Because summer session classes are only 6 weeks. If you miss 1 week, that's already missing a good chunk of the course as a whole, and you don't want to fall behind. So I'd recommend getting these ASAP and knowing exactly when they will be shipped to you, and making sure you always get that information up front. We'll also be using the Longevity Project, which is another book. It's not a textbook. It's more of a popular psychology book, but it is all based in research by Dr. Howard Friedman and Leslie Martin. And we'll be kind of using this as the base structure behind all of our discussion board postings for the class. And it goes along really nicely with the content that we'll be studying in the main text. So the main text is your typical chapter textbook. Each chapter presents different content. The Longevity Project takes a look at the lives of a group of individuals that were studied their entire lives from birth. So it is one of the longest running longitudinal studies to date. It is very comprehensive. The types of assessments that were taken on these individuals started in the 20s. Most of the individuals have passed away, but some are still alive. And so we just have a really rich database of information that Dr. Friedman and Dr. Martin have put together in making sense of health, what we do to ourselves over the course of time, our habits, our personality, our jobs, our friendships, our marriages, our relationships, how all of that affects our health over time. So it's really interesting, and it goes along really nicely with this book. So those are the two that we're going to be using for the class. I've included some instructions on citing your sources. So whenever you're citing the textbooks, how should you do that? What's the formatting? What's the proper way to do that? It is in APA format. Some of you may or may not be familiar with that, but this is a very simple one-page instruction of how to do that. So please take a look. The main textbook also offers interactive animations for Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is all the physiology. So basically all Chapter 2 is it takes you through every major system of the body. So like the cardiovascular system and the nervous system. And what it does is it breaks it down for you and fine detail. We are going to be breaking up Chapter 2 and reading it in pieces along with the other chapters. So for instance, when we're talking about stress, which is Chapter 3 and Chapter 4, I'll have you read all about the cardiovascular system because it's greatly affected by stress and it greatly contributes to stress based on how it's operating. I'll also have you read about the endocrine system and hormones and their role in our stress response. So it kind of breaks up the chapter nicely. Otherwise, Chapter 2 is a super heavy chapter, tons of terminology, and if you're not an anatomy and physiology kind of person, it can be a little overwhelming. So we break it up, and we'll be doing modules, actually. There are 6 different systems of the body that they break into modules all throughout Chapter 2, and we'll be breaking those up. Lastly, I've just put some different resources here for you. Anytime you email me, please give me your name. And please, tell me what it is that you're needing. I need all that important information, and that way I can get back to you. And I'm usually pretty good about getting back to you in a timely fashion within a day. I try to check my email frequently. But there's some info on that. There's some academic policy info about plagiarism and academic honesty. Please read that over carefully if you're not already familiar with the Westfield State policies on plagiarism, particularly with online classes. We don't want to get into any trouble of taking other people's words or posts and using them as our own. I'm very keen on looking for that. So you can try it, but it's not fun if I catch you using other people's words or ideas without properly citing them. We'll have some trouble. So just make sure you're familiar with all the policies there, and then we'll be great. I've also included a video about grammar, sort of etiquette in the English world. Really important, so hopefully you'll get a kick out of it. It tries to make a really dry subject funny, but take a look at that. I've also included some campus resources for you. Now, I know not everyone is on campus. Some of you are distance learners, so this may or may not apply to you, but I do want you to be aware of what's available to you in case you should need any of that. So that's all there for you, and that's pretty much sums up the Start Here menu. The next thing that you'll be doing is you'll be going over to Week 1, Module 1, and I will have a podcast there for you to listen to, as well as the content for Week 1 that you can take a look at. Okay? I look forward to getting to know you all over the course of the class. Thanks, everyone.